The cold moon sage let out a soft sigh, her form fading from solid to illusory, slowly dissipating. She could not bear to watch the scene that followed. The moon sovereign, however, felt no such reluctance. 1,000 years ago, her fall had been indirectly caused by the betrayal of the 10 sins of the Central Plains. And now, a treacherous sage, colluding with giants, had emerged once more. How could she tolerate it? The moon sovereign glanced at Fang Chen and asked flatly, "Do you need my help?" Without looking back, Fang Chen stepped into the sky with his hands behind his back and said coldly, "No need, Silver Moon, come to the outer heavens. You are unworthy of dying in the Central Plains." As soon as he spoke, he raised a hand and cut open the void, striding into the boundless nothingness. The Silver Moon Great Exalt's eyes swirled with deep ferocity as he bellowed, "Impudence! A mere spirit transformation cultivator dares to flaunt his might before this sage. Very well, today I shall slay you with the laws of the world and consecrate my sage's great Tao." A sharp, ear-piercing whistle tore through the air as the Silver Moon Great Exalt transformed into a streak of light and fiercely charged out of the Central Plains. The appearance of the void rift stirred all forces into motion. The thunder-annihilating sage, the traceless sage, and the ancient Zen Buddha Lord gathered together. The thunder-annihilating sage's eyes revealed a hint of anticipation as he said slowly, "Before the expedition to the heavenly realm, Fang Chen's battle with the young emperor a die overturned heaven and earth. Now he fights again, this time against the Silver Moon sage. I wonder what his chances of victory are." The traceless sage stroked his beard and said, "In the battle of the southern heaven realm, the treacherous sage and the giant emperor whom Fang Chen slew were only defeated with tea. He aid of other sages, the only one he killed alone was the Netherworld king who had temporarily transformed into a giant emperor. This battle is truly hard to predict. What does the Buddha Lord think?" As sages themselves, they understood better than anyone the chasm between a sage and the spirit transformation realm. It was not merely a matter of physique, speed, or strength. The greatest difference was that sages grasped the laws of heaven and earth, and could wield them to annihilate their foes. This was something a spirit transformation cultivator could scarcely hope to resist. The ancient Zen Buddha Lord remained as placid as an ancient well, his deep, aged eyes fixed upon Fang Chen's back in silence. Evidently, even the ancient Zen Buddha Lord could not see through Fang Chen at this moment. Leoli gazed up toward the outer void, her exquisite, beautiful face etched with deep worry as she murmured softly, "Why doesn't father act personally? Why must he let Fang Chen go alone? What if Fang Chen is no match for him?" Suddenly she felt a light pressure on her shoulder. Turning her head, she saw the massive figure of the Golden Scale Great Exalt. The Golden Scale Great Exalt gazed solemnly beyond the skies and said in a deep voice, "The karma that belongs to Fang Chen, let him resolve it himself. If he truly cannot match him, it won't be too late for me to step in." Leoli was taken aback and blurted out, "Father, since you were coming anyway, why did you send me specifically to deliver the message?" The Golden Scale Great Exalt said gently, "Otherwise, how would you have a chance to see the Starfire exalted again? In the future, your paths will cross less and less. Consider this a farewell for him." Hearing this, Leoli's crystalline eyes dimmed slightly, and she whispered, "I hope that old friend continues to do better and better." Not long after, another sage figure materialized from the void. A closer look revealed a woman with flowing silver hair and a beauty that could overthrow a kingdom. It was the Star Cluster Mountain Lord. Her beautiful eyes shot toward the outer heavens as she murmured lowly, "His first battle after stepping into the 4 declines of the Heavenly Man is a solitary duel against a sagi. If he wins, then I—" She clutched her chest and murmured again, "Alas, a peerless prodigy once stood before me, and I did not cherish him well. Only after losing him do I regret it endlessly. There is no greater pain in this mortal world." As she murmured, another figure materialized beside her, a woman in a long black dress. The woman rolled her eyes at the Mountain Lord and chuckled, "The foremost lamenting woman of the Central Plains. You truly live up to your reputation." The Star Cluster Mountain Lord glanced sidelong and gasped in shock, "You've entered the Sage Realm too." The woman in black was none other than the Compassionate Mirror Great Exalt, or, to be precise, she should now be addressed as the Compassionate Mirror Sage. The Mountain Lord's face was full of disbelief. "Where did you find enough merit to become a sage?" She herself had become a sage thanks to 2 great merit campaigns, plus years of accumulating virtue and good deeds. The Compassionate Mirror had become a Great Exalt barely a month ago. She simply hadn't accumulated enough merit. And the 2 great battles' merits were roughly on par with hers. So how had she suddenly broken through? The black-dressed woman smiled with considerable pride. My daughter-in-law can become a sage thanks to my son. What's wrong with his godmother basking in a little of that glory? As she spoke, she shot the moon sovereign a pointed glance. A nameless fury boiled up inside the star-cluster mountain lord as she gritted her teeth. Do you think having a son makes you so great? The compassionate mirror great exalt teased with a laugh. Then you give birth to one yourself. You, the mountain lord's chest heaved violently with anger, her kingdom, toppling countenance twisting with indignation. What a hateful mother, son pair. The moon sovereign, listening nearby, was utterly embarrassed. What was that saying? Good deeds stay hidden, but scandals travel 1,000 miles. She had just become a sage through her husband. How had it already spread throughout the sage circle? However, as she looked at the three newly ascended sages, Golden Scale, Star Cluster Mountain Lord, and Compassionate Mirror, she couldn't help but grow curious. In the past few days, there had been 5 sage phenomena in the Central Plains. These 3 before her, plus the Silver Moon, already made 4. So, who was the 5th one to enter sagehood? Was it the 10,000 Weapons, Great Exalt, or the Ice Heart, Great Exalt? Or perhaps the duo Tongxin and Tonghan? It was more likely the 10,000 Weapons, Great Exalt. He was a Great Exalt of the older generation, his accumulated merit far deeper than what Ice Heart and the other juniors could match. While the moon sovereign pondered, a violent fluctuation suddenly erupted from the void. The sages' expressions shifted slightly, and they all soared up and charged into the void. At that moment, within the void, several sages from beyond the heavens were also present. They had been waiting for Fang Chen to fulfill his promise, lingering just outside the central plains. The heavenly poisoned sage tucked his hands into his sleeves and said slowly, "This fellow is about to fight again. Last time it was against the young emperor at spirit transformation. This time it's against Silver Moon who has entered sagehood." Jiang Yishan beside him raised his eyebrows high and said, "No way, a 4 declines cultivator fighting a sage alone. Isn't he being too arrogant?" Even young Master Xiang at his peak never dared to face a sage alone in a spirit transformation body. The other outer heaven sages were also slightly worried. If Fang Chen fell in defeat, who would they turn to for their truce steel? Under the focused gazes of all, Fang Chen, clad in a void feather garment, held a 3-foot black nether sword in one hand while the other rested behind his back, suspended within the vast canvas of the void. Behind the Silver Moon, Great Exalt, floated a pitch black divine steel, emitting a flickering, ominous light. Streams of dark, colored energy surged, manifesting phantom chains of law that tainted one's emotions. The Silver Moon, Great Exalt's gaze was dark, murderous intent churning in his eyes as he said coldly, "Facing a sage alone, Fang Chen, you think too highly of yourself." Fang Chen raised his black sword, pointing it at him from afar, and said, "This is enough to kill you." The Silver Moon, Great Exalt's gloomy eyes swept over Fang Chen's waist as he said, "Where is your Grand Yan sword formation, and your primordial sky prisoning gourd? Bring them all out, or you won't have the chance to use them." Fang Chen's battle style was already well known among the powerhouses of the Central Plains. He had always favored defeating the strong from a position of weakness, employing perilous tactics. The Silver Moon, Great Exalt, did not fear Fang Chen using his heavy treasures early. He only worried that Fang Chen would employ some trick. Before his words could fade, a sharp crackle split the air as fierce lightning, fire blazed to life upon Fang Chen's black sword. The blade instantly expanded to 1,000 zhang in length, like a horizon severing heaven and earth. Fang Chen said icily, "You think you're worthy of dying beneath them. 1 man, 1 sword, more than enough to kill you." As he spoke, the 1,000 zhang nether sword swept out with world, annihilating might, slicing across the canvas of existence. The Silver Moon, Great Exalt sneered, the strength of an ant. He stood his ground without the slightest intention to dodge, merely raising his palm. The black energy around him detached and instantly solidified into an endless black great wall, spanning the space between them. The shimmering, annihilating sword, light, struck the wall fiercely, only to be embedded within it. Disdain surfaced on the Silver Moon, Great Exalt's face. "Kill me with this sword, not enough." With a mere thought, terrifying negative emotions surged out of the wall, racing along the nether sword straight toward Fang Chen. Fang Chen's expression remained cold as he brought his other hand to his lips and intoned, 6 parts as 1. Another explosive crackle resounded as violent, multicolored lightning burst forth. The lightning coalesced into 6 grand phenomena, and then, centered around Fang Chen, shaped into a 100 giant, all multicolored thunder giant. Fang Chen's manifested cultivation instantly surged to the 5 declines of the heavenly man, then rapidly climbed to its extreme limit, infinitely approaching the threshold of a sage. The 100 Jiang Thunder Giant grasped the 1,000 Jiang nether sword with one hand and swung it violently. With a muffled thump, the endless pitch black great wall exploded into a turbulent blast, surging backward and splintering in all directions. Silver Moon, Great Venerable's body jolted, and he staggered backward. Before he could steady himself, the world, annihilating sword, light of the black blade had already flashed before him. Silver Moon, Great Venerable's gaze turned icy, and the pitch, black divine steel behind him, instantly flickered into position before him. A teeth-grating screech of metal friction rang out. The black sword ground violently against the divine steel, igniting black flames. Thunder and fire sprayed in all directions, multicolored lightning bolts scattering like shattered debris. Silver Moon, Great Venerable's expression was as dark as water. He had thought that as long as Fang Chen did not bring out any precious treasures, killing him would be as simple as butchering a dog. He never imagined this youth would truly possess strength, rivaling that of a sage. The murderous intent in his eyes deepened into an abyss. He snorted coldly, "This is your limit. You are not enough to kill me. Now it is my turn." As soon as his words fell, the void suddenly trembled, releasing a deep, humming roar. The black divine steel hovering before Silver Moon, Great Venerable, abruptly erupted with an eerie, unparalleled black radiance. Countless dark silhouettes of law chains appeared, like venomous vines reaching out from the abyss, flickering faintly as they merged into the world and radiated to the 8 directions. An otherworldly sage instantly felt his heart leap into his throat and urgently warned, "Starfare Venerable, be careful. He is wielding the laws." The crowd was likewise terrified. The power of laws was unfathomable and profound. No matter how strong Fang Chen had become, how could he possibly withstand it? Jin Lin and several other sages exchanged glances, already preparing to intervene. They absolutely could not stand by and watch Fang Chen die at the hands of a degenerate sage like Silver Moon, Great Venerable. But at this critical moment of imminent peril, Fang Chen pressed his finger to his lips and once again uttered 2 low, deep words, "Holy blood." The heart of the celestial abyss quaked violently. The angel holy bloodlines of Xiao Ru and Xiakeoj erupted like a volcano suppressed for a myriad years, bursting forth in an instant. That holy blood, carrying unimaginable supreme might, surged along the circulation path of the 6-fold unity technique, instantly flooding into Fang Chen's limbs and bones. From the countless pores on his body, an endless holy light erupted, illuminating him like a human-shaped blazing sun. Even more shocking, a pair of pristine white wings, unique to the angel race, forcibly sprouted from his back. At this sight, Jin Lin and the others who were about to move halted abruptly, their expressions completely frozen on their faces. But what would follow was even more horrifying. The aura emanating from Fang Chen underwent a qualitative transformation at this moment. An immense pressure belonging to a one-winged great angel spread out like churning clouds and sea, still climbing incessantly. One strong and one weak, 2 phantom silhouettes of angelic law chains intertwined around him, flapping with a thunderous roar. What did he do? How did he turn into a one-winged great angel? No, not just one-winged, the aura inside him is still surging endlessly. In the blink of an eye, the entire thunder giant roared and transformed as well, its whole body emitting an angel holy light bright enough to illuminate the boundless darkness. On the giant's back, a pair of enormous wings that blotted out the sky also emerged. At this moment, Fang Chen seemed like an entirely new being that fused the authorities of a thunder god and an angel, exuding a primordial aura powerful enough to make all living beings bow in terror. That aura transformed into a near-tangible tidal wave, blasting outward in all directions. With a muffled crunch, a bizarre shadowy silhouette of a black law chain was forcibly blasted out of the void by this tidal wave of aura. Simultaneously, the longsword that had been pressed against the pitch black divine steel transformed into a sacred, flawless, angelic light sword. Then, with a crack of splitting, the pitch black divine steel was actually cleaved into by this light sword, slicing through it like a hot knife through butter. This sudden cataclysm caught Silver Moon, Great Venerable, completely off guard, and he roared in shock and fury, "Don't you dare destroy my divine steel!" Under his frantic urging, the pitch-black divine steel released a destructive brilliance, and countless eerie silhouettes of black law chains erupted from the steel like a volcanic explosion, desperately resisting the light sword and pushing it back inch by inch. Watching the light sword being gradually lifted, Silver Moon, Great Venerable, unleashed a long, cold sneer. Fang Chen, You cannot kill me. However, as soon as his words faded, Fang Chen's continuously soaring aura once again reached a critical point and fiercely broke through to an even higher level. Yet another pair of angel wings stretched out from his back, magnificent and solemn. Two-winged great angel. This is comparable to a cultivator with a solid foundation in the first calamity stage. Among the crowd, someone let out an utterly horrified exclamation. They witnessed with their own eyes a cultivator at the fourth decay of heaven, man whose cultivation had soared wildly to this level in mere moments. Fang Chen's strength underwent a geometric explosion at this instant. His gaze utterly indifferent, he raised his palm and pressed it down with brutal force. Upon the 1,000, Zhang angelic light sword, countless holy law chains instantly overflowed, tightly coiling around the entire blade. The light sword slashed downward once more. The black law chains within the divine steel, now like shadows before light, were utterly fragile. All of them were severed, splintering into countless fragments that sprayed in all directions. The long sword pressed on irresistibly, cleaving all the way down, intent on splitting the divine steel cleanly in two. Silver Moon, great venerable, let out a shriek of utter terror. Stop, stop. I worked so hard to become a sage. I worked so hard to become a sage. The response was Fang Chen's merciless, ferocious sword, descending without pause. With a resounding crack, amidst the rumbling, the pitch-black divine steel, unable to bear the strain, was evenly cleaved in two from the middle. It then exploded into a sky, filling black airflow, accompanied by strands of pure fortune energy, dispersing into the 8 directions of heaven and earth. With a spurt, the divine steel was destroyed. Silver Moon, great venerable, whose mind was linked to it, suffered a severe backlash instantly. A mouthful of crimson blood sprayed from his lips, and his face turned as pale as LD foil. But what truly terrified him to death was that Fang Chen's gaze remained icy, and he ruthlessly continued, swinging his sword toward him. Silver Moon, great venerable, horrified beyond measure, screamed wildly, "No, don't kill me. I am under the protection of Phoenix Dynasty Great Sage." Fang Chen's eyes were as cold as ice. The more someone was like this, the more such a degenerate sage must never be allowed to achieve the Tao. Stop! At that very moment, from the depths of the central continent, a vaguely familiar voice suddenly echoed. The voice was ancient and majestic, filled with an inviolable, heavenly might. It was a wisp of residual soul left by the reincarnation, great sage on Reincarnation Mountain, arriving with fury. Junior, put down the sword. His Tao body has already been reserved by someone. Do not bring calamity upon yourself. Although the sages of the central continent were surprised to see the reincarnation great sage's residual soul appear, they were not shocked in their hearts. When Phoenix Dynasty Great Sage had specifically instructed them to look after Silver Moon Great Venerable, they had already guessed that an old central continent sage on the verge of death must have taken a liking to him. The reincarnation Great Sage true form was still in the source of all evils, so he must have been entrusted by this person and had now used this wisp of residual soul to stop Fang Chen. Great Venerable Jin Lin was inwardly furious, his heart burning with rage. Last time when the ancient sage Divine Steel bestowed 9 fragments of merit upon Fang Chen, it was also this old scoundrel who shamelessly jumped out to snatch them, claiming that giving merit to Fang Chen was a waste, and that it would be put to its best use if given to him. That was merit that Fang Chen had exchanged his life for. The reincarnation great sage, far off in the source of all evils, had contributed nothing to the central continent, yet had the gall to seize a junior's merit. Now he was again interfering, wanting to protect a degenerate sage like Silver Moon, Great Venerable, who colluded with the ancient giants. Alas, the opponent was the reincarnation Great Sage, whose true body's strength was terrifying beyond measure, even making Phoenix Dynasty Great Sage show it 3 parts of reverence. How could Fang Chen refuse? Silver Moon, Great Venerable, seeing this, was overjoyed and yelled fiercely, "Did you hear that? Touch a single hair on me, and you make an enemy of an ancient Great Sage. You will surely die, your Tao extinguished, and everything you've gained in life will turn to dust." The response was Fang Chen's unhesitating 1,000, Zhang Light Sword, which emitted destructive law ripples, completely engulfing him. A sharp tearing sound that seemed to rip apart heaven and earth rang out. Silver Moon, Great Venerable's Tao body, just like the pitch-black divine steel, was cleaved in 2 on the spot. His soul attempted to flee, but also collapsed into scattered fragments of soul, light under the terrifying impact of the holy power laws. A wisp of a venomous scream from the soul level lingered in the air. "Fang Chen, you too will die a miserable death." Fang Chen had heard too many similar curses from enemies, and had long since grown numb. But for some unknown reason, when these words came from the Silver Moon Grand Sovereign, they sent an inexplicable chill through Fang Chen's heart, as if the curse had stirred the unseen heavenly mechanisms. Fang Chen's gaze suddenly hardened. He recalled the Silver Moon Grand Sovereign had let the Zijing Imperial Princess go earlier, and a surge of unease rose within him. Could it be that the Zijing Imperial Princess plays a crucial causal role in my death fate? The white-robed skeleton had once probed his death fate, stating it was a death trap woven from many interlocking karmic threads, some of which even he dared not rashly provoke. Combined with the mysterious and unfathomable origins of the Zijing Imperial Princess, Fang Chen clenched his fists tightly, his heart resolute with killing intent. The next time he encountered the Zijing Imperial Princess, he would slay her at any cost. Fang Chen! From behind came the furious roar of the Samsara Great Sage Remnant Soul. What an arrogant champion Marquis, so disdainful of others. Relying on a little merit, you no longer hold us elders in any regard. Fang Chen's enormous angelic thunder body turned sharply, his long sword sweeping up to point straight at the remnant soul, his gaze as sharp as a blade. And what are you? Do you deserve to be in my eyes? When the Central Plains faced disaster, you turned a deaf ear. When the Central Plains expedition marched on the heavenly realm, you acted as if it was none of your concern. But the moment merit appeared, you leaped out to snatch it. The instant a suitable Tao body became available, you showed up to seize it. And you keep calling yourself an elder. What kind of elder are you? You so-called sages who, having seen the great world, no longer regard yourselves as part of the Central Plains, you are allowed to remain only because of your past merits 1,000 years ago. If you dare to push any further, get out of the Central Plains and find yourself some other pure land. The Samsara Great Sage Remnant Soul was incensed beyond measure by the scolding. On his aged soul's visage, there was only majesty and fury. Impudent whelp, you. Before the words finished, a crisp ding sound suddenly rang out. On Fang Chen's chest abruptly appeared a black and red bell, clearly the Hell Soul Bell. The red side of the bell was aimed precisely at the Samsara Great Sage Remnant Soul, and faintly, one could see within it imprisoned a dog and the shadow of a woman. The Samsara Great Sage immediately felt his remnant soul trembling violently, as if it might be swallowed into the bell at any moment. His rebuke died on his lips. Fang Chen was secretly alarmed, a chill rising from the depths of his heart. At the first merit assembly, when he had snatched merit, Fang Chen still held some respect for him. But now, Fang Chen regarded him entirely as a stranger. He even had the ability and courage to erase his remnant soul. The Samsara Great Sage Remnant Soul stared deeply at Fang Chen and spoke slowly. You have no idea whom you have offended. And don't think we are traitors to the Central Plains. One day, when you come to the myriad evil's origin, you too will not want to return. The more human you are, the less likely you'll return. With those words, he turned and stepped back towards Samsara Mountain. Just before vanishing, he glanced back with deep meaning, his expression laden with significance. His thought-provoking words lingered in the air, plunging everyone into deep contemplation. A trace of confusion also appeared on Fang Chen's face. Could it be that these ancient great sages who remained in the myriad evil's origin and no longer saw themselves as people of the Central Plains were not simply coveting a better world? A soft poof sounded, pulling Fang Chen's thoughts back to reality. It was the last vestiges of the multicolored thunder within his body dissipating, and the thunder giant followed suit, fading away. The holy power that had wreathed Fang Chen's body also returned within. The heavenly abyss heart returned to normal. Within it, the angelic holy blood lineage that originally had 51 feathers now had only 45. When his cultivation had briefly soared to the 2-winged great angel level, he had burned the bloodline power of 6 feathers. A hint of curiosity appeared in Fang Chen's eyes as he murmured, if all of them were burned, what level of great angel would that be? But recalling that this was a parting gift from George, sacrificed at the cost of half her martial future, he immediately suppressed the thought. The feathers George gave him, using one meant one less. In the future, unless at a critical moment, he must not rashly use them. Turning to look back at the Silver Moon Grand Sovereign, who had dissolved into smoke and cloud, Fang Chen expressionlessly sheathed his wicked sword. In killing the Silver Moon Grand Sovereign, he felt not a shred of joy. He merely gazed at the wicked sword in his hand, its surface reflecting his cold gaze. He coldly muttered to himself, Zijing Imperial Princess, even before leaving you made us slaughter each other. Truly, you cannot be left alive. The Zijing Imperial Princess's disclosure held not a shred of goodwill. She deliberately instigated a battle between the Silver Moon Grand Sovereign and the Central Plains sages. No matter who died, the Central Plains would lose at least one sage. She was avenging the Southern Heaven Realm. Everyone came back to their senses, their gazes toward Fang Chen utterly transformed. One man with a single sword stroke had slain a corrupt sage, cutting down both man and monument. With such strength, who would still dare regard him as merely at the spirit transformation realm? The heavenly poison sage stepped forward with a smile, cupping his hands, and declared loudly, "Congratulations, fellow Taoist Fang, on your great achievement in martial arts." The sages from beyond the heavens also came forward to offer congratulations. Fang Chen sheathed his wicked sword, wiped the coldness from his face, and replied, "Just some minor auxiliary paths. Heavenly Poison Sage, please return to the Myriad Poisons realm and wait patiently. I will soon head there to fulfill our agreement to study the poison canon together." The Heavenly Poison Sage had been waiting for exactly those words. Laughing heartily, he said, "I look forward to exploring the great Tao with fellow Taoist Fang." "Farewell, Yishan, let us go." Jiang Yishan looked at Fang Chen with a complex expression, saying, "Brother Fang, see you in the Myriad Poisons realm." Fang Chen nodded, watching the two depart into the distance. Then, turning to the remaining 9 sages from beyond the heavens, his gaze turned calm as he said, "9 seniors, you may all take your leave as well." The Ice Realm sage spoke awkwardly, "Fellow Taoist Fang, regarding the true steel." Fang Chen swept them with a cold glance and retorted, "You have the audacity to bring that up." At the most critical moment, 4 of you were dispatched beyond the heavens by the 9 Suns Giant Emperor. Of the remaining 6, 1 fell, and the other 5 all fled at the crucial juncture, and now you expect me to honor our agreement as promised. Were it not for Fang Chen revealing the Asura Emperor as his final trump card at the last moment, this battle would have been in grave doubt. The Ice Realm sage, greatly embarrassed, hurriedly said, "We were in the wrong. How about this? Our Ice Realm is willing to pay a greater price than agreed to borrow the truce steel. As for what extra we can offer, when fellow Taoist Fang arrives at our Ice Realm, whatever you need, we will do our utmost to find it for you." The other sages all voiced similar sentiments. They had truly acted dishonorably by fleeing midway, and could only offer greater compensation, begging Fang Chen to lend a hand. Fang Chen stared at them and said irritably, "All of you go back and wait, and don't think you'll get off easy." Hearing the implication, the 9 sages from beyond the heavens were overjoyed. They cupped their hands in farewell, returning to make preparations for his arrival. Jinlin watched them leave with displeasure, muttering, "These people are getting off too easy." Fang Chen waved his hand, "Forget it." In this battle, they were external reinforcements, so self-preservation was naturally their top priority. Fleeing at the last moment was within expectations. As long as they pay a heavier price, lending them the true steel is no problem. It could bring the Central Plains opportunities to break through to Sage, Great Angel, and Asura Emperor level, and also expel the dark creatures. Why would he not gladly do it? The other Central Plains sages gathered around, one after another, offering congratulations on Fang Chen's martial arts breakthrough. Only the Cold Moon sage silently stepped into the void, quietly gathering the Silver Moon's blood mist that had scattered into nothingness. A trace of sorrow flickered in her eyes as she remained silent. Seeing this, Fang Chen said apologetically, "I'm sorry to have saddened Senior Cold Moon." Cold Moon Sage shook her head and sighed softly. "What fault do you have?" "For colluding with ancient giants, even if you hadn't killed him. I would have had to execute him for the greater good. I am grieved that he was so foolish, falling for the Zijing Imperial Princess's trap." The Zijing Imperial Princess tempted Silver Moon with Destiny's fortune, harboring malicious intent. Otherwise, if Silver Moon had captured and slain the Zijing Imperial Princess, he would have gained a sum of merit. Combined with the merit he had previously earned, he would have qualified to attempt a break through to Sage. With a bit of assistance from Cold Moon Sage, it would not have been impossible for him to become a true sage. Alas, he was deceived by the Zijing Imperial Princess. A cold light spread in Cold Moon Sage's eyes. Fang Chen said solemnly, "If I encounter the Zijing Imperial Princess, I will seek justice for you." Cold Moon Sage waved her hand firmly, "No need. I will deal with her myself. You must not get entangled in her karmic ties again." It seems the Cold Moon Sage had also likely heard of the Purple Crimson Princess's special status and the great karma upon her, and was unwilling to implicate Fang Chen. After a pause, the Cold Moon Sage cupped his hands toward Fang Chen and said, "With the Moon Palace entrusted to you, I am at ease. Now, on behalf of everyone in the Central Plains, I shall go to the source of all evils and ask those ancient great sages why they have forsaken our Central Plains." Fang Chen's heart sank, and he asked quietly, "Must you go, Senior Cold Moon?" Cold Moon Sage's gaze turned cold as he said firmly, I must seek an answer for the benevolent heroes and martyrs of the Central Plains who sacrificed themselves in this great battle." The sages of the Central Plains wore solemn expressions. They too wished to know what exactly had happened within the source of all evils. Why the ancient great sages, who once shed their blood and sacrificed their lives for the Central Plains, are now so heartless and cold. Had even one of them returned from the Three Calamities realm, the battle would not have been so brutal. The ancient Chan, Buddha Venerable, put his palms together and prayed, "May the Buddha protect fellow Taoist Cold Moon." Golden Scale Sovereign and the others cupped their hands in farewell. Cold Moon Sage returned the salute with a fist clasp, then cast one last deep look at Moon Sovereign and then at Fang Chen. It seemed he wanted to plead on her behalf, but ultimately closed his mouth and departed with a sigh. Lianjing joyfully stepped forward and called, "Fanger, come back with your godmother. I'll make your favorite dishes." Seeing Fang Chen's current strength, her heart was filled with boundless relief. But Fang Chen took Lianjing's hand and said softly, "Godmother, I will not return to the Central Plains. There are still many things awaiting me." The smile on Lianjing's face slowly faded with the wind, revealing a trace of loneliness. "The young emperor has left. And Fang Chen is leaving too." Yet she still mustered her spirits, took out a jade talisman from her bosom, within which faintly shimmered chains of law. She instructed, "This is my Tao law. When activated, it can project a complete duplicate of you to confront enemies. Use it only when in danger, understand? Also, I heard you need law energy to temper your body. Is this wisp of law suitable?" She then took out a stone, sealed with a faint trace of law power. Fang Chen's heart was deeply moved. It turned out his godmother had long prepared the things he needed for his departure. Upon closer perception, he discovered that Lianjing's aura was even weaker than that of Golden Scale, the Starry Mountain Lord, and even the newly ascended Moon Sovereign. It must have been from expending vast amounts of law energy to refine protective treasures. The thread in the hand of a loving mother, the robes on the body of her wandering child. Before leaving, she stitched tightly, dreading that his return would be long delayed. Fang Chen accepted it with both hands, gave Lianjing a hug, and said gratefully, "Thank you, godmother." Lianjing's eyes welled with tears as she softly admonished, "Be careful in all things once you're outside. Don't easily get into conflicts with others. Do you understand?" Upon hearing this, Fang Chen couldn't help but feel a sting in his nose. These seemingly ordinary motherly admonitions were, to the young boy he once was, a regret he could only envy but never possess. Gazing at Lianjing's face full of tender love, a burning surge of emotion rose from the depths of Fang Chen's heart. His voice slightly choked, he answered solemnly, "I will return safely." Fang Chen took a deep breath, his gaze sweeping over everyone, and said warmly, "Godmother, you go back to the Central Plains first. And everyone else, you may all return as well." Watching this moving scene of deep mother-son affection, everyone present was touched, waves of emotion stirring in their hearts. Golden Scale, the Starry Mountain Lord, and Moon Sovereign each extended a hand and separated a wisp of their law power, handing it to Fang Chen, then silently bid farewell and turned to leave. Only then did Lianjing, with infinite reluctance, release Fang Chen. Her eyes, fixed on him, were filled with deep worry and wordless counsel. Her red lips parted slightly, 1,000 words ultimately condensed into one simple instruction, "Come back soon." Having said that, suppressing the reluctance and pain in her heart, she resolutely turned around and departed with the crowd. Fang Chen blinked hard, forcing back the moisture that was nearly uncontrollable. In the next instant, his expression abruptly reverted to its previous cold indifference. His gaze, sharp as lightning, fixed on the back of Moon Sovereign who lagged behind, and he said darkly, "Moon Sovereign, you stay." Moon Sovereign's delicate body trembled slightly. She stopped walking and turned around, yet still kept a great distance. She looked over cautiously and probed, Do you have any instructions?" Fang Chen expressionlessly extended his hand and coldly uttered 2 words, "Hand it over." Moon Sovereign was slightly startled, then suddenly recalled something. She hastily took out the slightly chipped merit divine pearl and flicked it through the air toward him. She hurriedly explained, "I did not mean to covet it. I truly forgot. If there is nothing else, I shall take my leave now." Having successively experienced the matter of ascending to sagehood, and witnessed with her own eyes Fang Chen annihilating Silver Moon with a single strike of his sword, she had only forgotten about the unused merit, Divine Pearl. Seeing Fang Chen accept the Divine Pearl, she felt a slight relief and was eager to leave. Wait, Fang Chen suddenly stepped through the void, advancing toward her step by step. His gaze was deep and pressing as he commanded in a deep voice, "Let Chen Siling come out." Upon these words, Moon Sovereign's heart instantly sank to the abyss. She clearly understood that as a remnant soul from 1,000 years ago, her greatest value was possessing sufficient cultivation experience to quickly recultivate this body back to the sage realm. But now that the sage path had been fully realized, she was of no value to Fang Chen. This time, by demanding Chen Siling come out, he was likely preparing to completely destroy her remnant soul so that Chen Siling could fully take over this body. Moon Sovereign subconsciously retreated a step, her eyes involuntarily revealing a hint of pleading. Trembling, she asked, "The ancient sacred steel ordained our relationship. Are you still going to kill me?" Fang Chen, however, pressed closer step by step, his gaze as cold as ice, and repeated, "Let her come out." Moon Sovereign's heart sank further, gritting her teeth on her red lips. Her voice carried a trace of desperate compromise. I agree to be your wife. Won't that do?" While speaking, Fang Chen had already walked up to stand before her. He looked down at her condescendingly, his voice as cold as frozen ice. For the last time, let her come out. A deep sense of despair instantly surged through Moon Sovereign's entire being. She had already completely discarded her dignity and chosen to submit. Was Fang Chen still unwilling to spare her? A thought of resistance rose in her heart, but as soon as she recalled the scene of Silver Moon's death and Tao extinction, the courage she had just mustered crumbled away without a trace. In the end, after many struggles, she resolutely lifted her eyes to glare at Fang Chen and smiled bitterly. "Fine, I'll return it all to you. My consciousness was not meant to awaken. It was you who, that day, noticed the anomaly in this body and intervened to awaken me. Born by your hand, die by your sword. A cycle of cause and effect. We are even now." On her peerlessly beautiful yet cold face, there appeared a lonely and resolute beauty of tragic determination. As her beautiful eyes slowly closed, 2 streams of clear tears rolled down her pale cheeks. Yet when she opened her eyes again, those signature moon-like pupils had vanished without a trace. The aloof aura that surrounded her, akin to the moon goddess Chang in the vast cold palace, also dissipated, replaced by a light and cheerful spirit. Husband, as soon as Chen Siling took control of the body, she joyously threw herself into Fang Chen's arms in a tight embrace. There was a dull thud, and caught completely off guard, Fang Chen instantly felt a sharp pain rack his body. His bones let out groans of protest, nearly being crushed to death on the spot. Fang Chen grimaced in pain and hurriedly cried out gently, "You're a genuine sage now." Only then did Chen Siling realize, and she let go in fright like a kitten that had done something wrong. She looked at her own hands in astonishment and asked dazedly, I've become a sage." Fang Chen didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he rubbed his sore ribs, feeling a lingering fear in his heart. Good heavens, 1 green pearl, 1 Chen Siling, these two had nearly teamed up to send him straight to the afterlife on the spot. After a moment of thought, he slowly wiped the smile from his face, his expression turning solemn, and took out the soul leaf left behind by Yi Bangxia. With a trace of solemnity in his eyes, he looked at Chen Siling and said, "Siling, I am going to do something." Chen Siling quickly looked over, and the moment her gaze fell upon that soul leaf, she instantly sensed from deep within her heart the despair and sorrow belonging to Moon Sovereign. She understood immediately that Fang Chen indeed possessed the means to annihilate Moon Sovereign's soul, and he intended to use it right now. Chen Siling's heart tightened, and she asked solemnly, "Husband, this leaf is..." Fang Chen gripped the leaf in his hand and said in a deep voice, "It can let you completely break free from the Moon Sovereign."
"What?"
Chen Siling was overjoyed at first and eagerly pressed, Is it to separate my soul from the Moon Sovereign's?" She had waited for this day for far too long. Who would be willing to share a body with another, without a shred of freedom? Fang Chen shook his head and said calmly, "No, it is to directly kill the Moon Sovereign's soul." The smile on Chen Siling's face froze instantly, then quickly dissipated into a look of shock. You're going to kill her?" Fang Chen's voice was utterly calm. "This is the only method I have found so far." A fierce struggle and conflict instantly filled Chen Siling's eyes. She certainly yearned to monopolize the body, but to kill the Moon Sovereign. After pondering for a long while, Chen Siling finally shook her head resolutely and pleaded with Fang Chen, "Husband, spare her life. The Moon Sovereign never intended to kill me. Along the journey from the mainland, she has secretly helped me many times. Please, spare her life." Fang Chen frowned upon hearing this and advised, "Her existence is a constant danger to you. I think it's better to eliminate her." Chen Siling hurriedly shook her head, explaining urgently, no, the Moon Sovereign really won't harm me. She just can't accept you as openly as I do, that's all. Give me some time, and I'll slowly persuade her. I beg you, husband, don't kill her. Fang Chen held that cold soul leaf and sighed inwardly. Ah, I guessed it would be like this. As early as that day when he saw the ancient saint god monument bestow the Taoist title Virtuous One of Two Wives, he had vaguely foreseen today's scene. He could only suppress his killing intent and look at Chen Siling with complicated eyes, asking, for the rest of your life, you'll share a body with the Moon Sovereign. Won't you regret it? Sensing that Fang Chen had finally relented, the heavy stone in Chen Siling's heart finally dropped to the ground. She giggled, reverting to her carefree self, and said playfully, "Oh, let's talk about it if I regret it later." After a long silence, Fang Chen sighed helplessly and said, "Fine, let her come out." Chen Siling obediently nodded. In the next moment, her pupils slowly transformed into crescent moon shapes. Her entire demeanor shifted abruptly, returning to that cold, noble bearing. But this time, when she looked again at the soul leaf in Fang Chen's hand, her eyes were full of deep fear. Fang Chen looked at her coldly and snorted. "Out of consideration for Chen Siling's earnest pleading for you, I will spare your soul today." Upon hearing this, the Moon Sovereign's originally despairing, beautiful face suddenly brightened, as if clouds parted to reveal the moon. "But remember this, from now on, the right to control this body belongs to Chen Siling. Whenever she wants to take control, it's entirely up to her. You must never try to seize it. Otherwise, I will still destroy you." A look of relief after a narrow escape appeared on the Moon Sovereign's face, and she quickly agreed, "All right, I will obey Siling's wishes in everything." She paused slightly, secretly lifted her gaze to look at Fang Chen, hesitating repeatedly. Then she slightly bent her body and solemnly performed a deep curtsy to Fang Chen, her tone still carrying a trace of unnatural awkwardness, and said softly, Thank you, husband, for sparing my life." Before, it was always Fang Chen, forcing her to call him husband. And now, this was the first time she took the initiative, and willingly uttered this address. Fang Chen's gaze remained cold. He snorted lightly through his nose, HMPH, "You know what's good for you." Before his words faded, he flicked his sleeve, and a streak of light flew to the Moon Sovereign. The Moon Sovereign caught it in surprise, sent a wisp of divine sense into the jade slip, and couldn't help exclaiming emotionally, "This is..." The insights from the Lunar Palace's lost scripture. This supreme technique of the Lunar Palace she had spent 2 lifetimes unable to fully comprehend, yet this jade talisman before her contained a complete record of all the insights. A barely controllable joy surged between her brows, and she accepted it like a priceless treasure, her voice carrying an elation she didn't notice herself. "Thank you, husband." As soon as the words left her mouth, she suddenly realized that she was calling him husband more and more naturally. A shy warmth involuntarily spread from the tips of her ears. The Moon Sovereign turned her face away awkwardly, not daring to look at Fang Chen anymore. Fang Chen, however, paid no mind, and once again raised his hand to toss over a brand, new jade slip, instructing, "Do something for me. Go to the Myriad Tribulations Saint Hall and throw this jade talisman into that stone cone." He added with a serious expression, "Remember, stay far away from the stone cone, leave immediately after, and do not get near it under any circumstances." The agreement with that white-robed skeleton he had never dared to forget. Within this jade slip were hidden part of his insights into the stone tablet's inscriptions. Once the white-robed skeleton mastered them, it could freely enter and exit the Thunder God Heavenly Palace. To release an old monster, imprisoned for countless ages truly, who knows if it's a blessing or a curse. Listening to this bizarre task, the Moon Sovereign was full of surprise, but she tactfully refrained from asking further. She quickly put away the jade slip, gave a formal curtsy, and said, "Yes, husband, you must also take the utmost care on the road." Having said that, she turned around with a light heart and headed back toward the Central Plains. As she walked, the Moon Sovereign couldn't help muttering to herself, "Ah, back on the mainland, I was utterly unwilling to acknowledge that Fang Chen, an ordinary mortal, could be my husband, and stubbornly insisted on returning to the Lunar Palace. But in the end, after going around in such a big circle, haven't I willingly acknowledged him as my husband? What was I even making a fuss about? Ah, wouldn't it have been better if I had accepted my fate earlier?" Meanwhile, after Fang Chen finished giving his instructions, he took out the Hell Soul Bell and gently shook it. Ding, ding, ding. Amid the crisp ringing, the wisp of the large black dog's soul in the red zone instantly suffered relentless burning by fierce flames. A heart-rending howl pierced through the void. Arg, 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 Tilda, stop shaking it, master. Please stop. Immediately after, from within the void, a floating fragment of a derelict continent, the large black dog transformed into a panicked streak of light, howling miserably as it sprinted over. Only then did Fang Chen unhurriedly put away the Hell Soul Bell, glanced at its disheveled state, and snorted, "Damn dog, what were you hiding in the void for?" "Were you waiting for me to die so you could take advantage of the opportunity? Is that it?" He had long sensed it. When he was battling Silver Moon, this damn dog had quietly slipped out of the central plains and watched from the shadows, with no intention of helping at all. What sneaky idea was brewing in its dog's stomach, it goes without saying. Unexpectedly, the large black dog immediately cried out with a wronged expression. "Master, you wrong me. I am your loyal dog. I hid in the shadows to come to your rescue at any moment." It raised its dog paw to the sky and swore at the top of its lungs, "I swear to the heavens, if there's a single lie, I'm not a human." With a crisp paw sound, Fang Chen raised his hand and slapped it on its dog head. Fang Chen sneered disdainfully, "Don't show off these tricks I've long grown tired of. Cut the crap. I need to find the Grand Wine Priest of the Central Plains." "Lock onto their position immediately." The large black dog raised its dog leg and vigorously rubbed its head, while silently cursing in its belly, "Little brat, just you wait. The myriad realms are not your central plains. There are interesting worlds everywhere. Once I find a chance, I'll break free from your control. And then you can go cry to your grandpa dog lord." But as soon as it looked up, it put on an obedient face, wagging its tail, and said, "Okay, okay, leave everything to me." As it spoke, it sniffed vigorously at the surroundings and shouted sternly, "Boundless heaven and earth, 10,000-mile tracking." Then it abruptly turned its head to look in one direction, and its 3 dog eyes narrowed simultaneously. In those dog eyes, a deep look of dread spread. Fang Chen asked in a deep voice, "Well?" The big black dog instantly hid the strange look in its eyes, resumed a happy expression, and said, "I've already found it. Just keep heading east. With my speed, we can arrive in half a month." Half a month? The big black dog was a great demon at the Two Calamities realm. Although its speed in the void couldn't compare to the heaven, defying instantaneous movement within worlds, it was still astonishingly fast. If it required half a month of travel, how vast must that distance be? Fang Chen mused to himself. It seemed he would still need to use the void feather garment. That way, he could arrive in just a few days. But before that, he had to find a way to enhance his strength first. Having made up his mind, Fang Chen immediately leaped onto the dog's back and ordered sharply, "Lead the way." Then he sat cross-legged and directly took out the strands of law energy gifted by everyone at the victory banquet. Back then, the old sages had sent 5 strands of law energy. Later, his godmother and 3 newly promoted sages sent 4 more. Adding the strand of law energy from the chaotic ancient blood marquee he had refined earlier, it was perfectly 10 strands, no more, no less. According to the scripture of leaving heaven and washing away tribulations, tempering the body with 10 strands of law energy allowed one to cultivate the 10 calamities golden fire, seek strong enough to face a 1 calamity realm expert head, on with pure physical power. With such a formidable physique, he would have more confidence in guaranteeing his safety when seeking the great wine sacrifice. Fang Chen no longer hesitated. He immediately drew a wisp of law energy and began silently tempering his body. The big black dog swiped its 4 legs through the air and instantly transformed into a black streak of light galloping straight east. But neither of them noticed that shortly after their departure, a ripple appeared without warning in the void, and a beautiful woman in a yellow robe with an ancient sword on her back materialized out of thin air. Her colorful eyes shimmered with gorgeous light as she smiled and gazed in the direction Fang Chen had left. The yellow-robed beauty murmured to herself, "Champion Marquis, the 10th saint of the Central Earth, truly lives up to his reputation. A talent like you would be wasted staying in the Central Earth. It's far more fitting for you to return with me to the arsenal." But soon she frowned slightly. "However, that black dog seems to harbor ill intentions. The direction it's leading him is one of the 10 great danger zones of the void." After a moment of deliberation, the yellow-robed beauty was about to move to pursue, but suddenly sensed something and turned her head toward the Central Earth. A flash of light shone from her entire body, and she instantly faded into transparent sword aura, becoming nearly invisible to the naked eye. Under her gorgeous gaze, the barrier of the Central Earth world slowly opened, and an old woman wrapped in coarse sackcloth walked out from within. Her hair was a mix of black and gray, disheveled and dirty, her face full of wrinkles. When she grinned, a mouthful of yellow teeth showed, and her body emitted an unpleasant stench of someone who hadn't bathed for days. The old crone gazed distantly at the direction Fang Chen had gone and laughed hoarsely. Dead Fang Chen, every cause has its effect, and I am your retribution. I've come for you. Saying this, she spat out an ancient bronze boat magical artifact, leaped onto it, then carefully took out a great Cayenne divine coin and pressed it forcefully into a slot. A terrifying roar of Weng sounded, and the bronze boat instantly erupted with a cyan rainbow, carrying her at astonishing speed in pursuit. The yellow-robed beauty revealed herself again, her black brows slightly furrowed. This old hag has quite the background to actually possess a void skyboat from the ancient great Cayenne divine kingdom. Does she have a grudge against the champion Marquis? As she pondered, a nauseating body odor was blown toward her face by the spatial force of the void. The yellow-robed beauty's expression changed drastically. She hastily waved her sleeve, fiercely sweeping away that disgusting smell, and spat with extreme disgust. Dead old hag, how many days have you gone without bathing? Not satisfied with just repelling the odor, she activated her power to cleanse her own body several times repeatedly, until the lingering stench was completely expelled. Only then did she look toward the direction Fang Chen had disappeared, slightly annoyed. With a light tap of her toe on the void, the yellow-robed beauty's figure, graceful as the wind, floated away in pursuit. At the same time, in the central Earth Gixu Prefecture, atop Myriad Stars Mountain, the silver-haired master of Myriad Stars Mountain stood alone in the immortal mountain's main hall, facing the mighty mountain wind in silence. The clear wind stirred her snow, like long hair, and also fluttered the letter in her hand. Upon the letter were graceful handwritten words by Liu Ruyan herself. Master, seeing this letter is like meeting in person. Thank you for saving my life back then, and thank you for your nurturing affection. Ruyan bears it deeply in her heart. In my life, I have had two masters. One is Master Lai Qingfeng, who treated me with utmost sincerity, and the other is you. In the most troubled emotions of my life, Master Lai Qingfeng taught me to let go, while you granted me fulfillment. Alas, your disciple is disappointing, unable to let go in my heart, nor to bravely face Fang Chen. But your disciple has already found her own path. I want to go to a broader world and walk to the end of that road to see. Whether I succeed or not, I probably won't be coming back. Master's kindness can only be repaid in the next life. Forgive my leaving without saying goodbye. May in the years I am gone, Master stay forever young, safe and smooth. Also may Master soon find a life partner and not be alone. Hereby I bid farewell, Ruyan kowtowing. The master of Myriad Stars Mountain remained silent. She gazed at the surging sea of clouds before her, bitterness gradually spilling from the corner of her mouth. After a long while, she softly sighed, "You will all regret it." Great Granary Prefecture, South Sea. On an island suspended alone in the vast deep sea, countless flowers were blooming brilliantly. Peach blossoms of spring, green lotuses of summer, golden chrysanthemums of autumn, and snowy plum blossoms of winter flowers that should bloom separately in the 4 seasons in immortal world. Now all vied to bloom on the same land, competing to emit fragrance. The refreshing fragrance and dazzling radiance adorned the entire island with vibrant life. Only on both sides of the long stone steps leading to the island's peak, pots of epiphyllums with buds yet to bloom seemed out of place. Before one of these epiphyllums crouched a tall and slender woman. She wore a long cyan dress, yet had snow-white silver hair. Her thin, withered fingers held a tiny jade bottle, carefully pouring a spirit liquid brimming with life energy into the pot. However, the epiphyllum still showed no reaction, still refusing to bloom. She sighed softly, and the voice that came out was gentle yet aged. "All the flowers have bloomed. Why are you the only one unwilling to open? Are you waiting for someone?" Time flew by, and 2.5 days passed in the blink of an eye. On the black dog's back, Fang Chen's entire body was crimson red, like a red, hot iron figure just taken out of a furnace, emitting terrifying high temperatures with large amounts of white steam violently boiling with sizzling sounds. The big black dog turned its head to look and couldn't help clicking its tongue. Although this human is hateful, he's truly ruthless to himself. Using law energy to forcibly temper the physique is simply asking for torture. It had witnessed Fang Chen's cultivation from start to finish. The so-called body tempering was to use law energy to destroy one's own flesh inch by inch, then regenerate a brand new body. After destruction, rebirth again, repeated endlessly until that strand of law energy could no longer destroy the physical body. Just watching it made the big black dog's bones ache with soreness. It thought to itself, even if the most fragrant poop in the world were placed before it, it would never cultivate such a horrifying technique. Then the big black dog rolled its dog eyes and muttered to itself, however, this technique does have some merit. In just over 2 days of tempering, his physique strength has already reached a level comparable to the 5 declines of heaven and man. If he continues training like this, could he really break through the tribulation of the spirit transformation and sage, reaching a sage's physique in one fell swoop? As it was pondering, Fang Chen's body temperature finally slowly cooled down. He abruptly opened his eyes, and his gaze was so condensed it seemed tangible, shaking the void ahead with a slight tremor. He clenched his fists tightly, and an overwhelmingly powerful physical force surged through his flesh and blood. Fang Chen's eyes showed joy, so the 5 declines of heaven and man realm possesses such strength. Although the process of body tempering was hellishly torturous, the benefits gained were real and substantial. The only drawback was that his current physique was still too weak, and the tempering speed was truly too slow. The first time he tempered his body with law energy, it took him a full 3 days. Now, tempering again on the foundation of a physique comparable to the 4 declines of heaven and man, it still took 2.5 days. And he would still need to use the void feather garment to travel and search for traces of the great wine sacrifice, so he truly had no time to waste any more here. Fang Chen patted the big black dog's head and said, "Stop. From now on, you navigate. I'll handle the traveling." The big black dog quickly halted, inwardly wishing Fang Chen would arrive at the destination soon. Fang Chen took out the void feather garment and draped it over himself. Just as he was about to activate it, the lunar mirror fragment in his embrace rang after a long silence. His heart stirred, who sent a message. Fang Chen took out the lunar mirror fragment and saw that a long-lost member had appeared. In the lunar mirror, Flower Blossom Wealth sent a message. "Everyone, as promised, I've come to sponsor our Pick a Good Name." Immediately, 2 messages popped up in quick succession. Death Diary's message followed. Why give him such a bargain? Never Spoils the Fun's message also popped up. "No way, you're really a rich lady. Can you consider me? I'll lick." Fang Chen's forehead instantly sprouted a row of black lines. He cursed inwardly. This Flower Blossom Wealth, she actually still harbors intentions to meet him in person and give him a hard time. I was just joking back, then asking for sponsorship. How come she's actually coming? Thankfully, he had already left the Central Plains. Otherwise, it would have been truly awkward. He casually replied in the lunar mirror, "Welcome, as long as you can find me." Flower Blossom Wealth immediately responded, "You said it." Just as Fang Chen saw this message, a deafening roar suddenly erupted beside him. He saw a cyan rainbow cleave through the pitch-black void, stirring up boundless chaotic currents as it rushed toward them. The big black dog braced its 4 limbs firmly against the ground, barely avoiding being swept away by the chaotic currents. Fang Chen and the big black dog looked up. An ancient bronze boat stretched across ahead. On the boat stood a crone leaning on a cane, grinning at Fang Chen. The big black dog's 3 eyes bulged wide. Seeing her slovenly, aged appearance and her smiling at him, his dog hair stood on end all over his body, and he cursed furiously. "Damn old hag in this vast void, are you pretending to be a ghost to scare people?" The crone laughed hoarsely and said, "I'm here to find Fang Chen." Fang Chen stared straight at her, swallowed hard, raised the lunar mirror fragment in his hand, and said in a trembling voice, Please don't tell me your Flower Blossom Wealth." The crone chuckled. Under Fang Chen's stunned gaze, she took out a lunar mirror fragment and wrote on it with practiced ease. Immediately, a message popped up in the lunar mirror. "Friends, I've already met Pick a Good Name in person. Truly a young and handsome lad. This old body is in love." A flurry of urgent beeps sounded, and the lunar mirror instantly erupted. Death Diary's message emerged first. "Old body, you're an old hag." Never Spoils the Fun quickly spoke up. "Shut up. Don't you dare slander my sister Fu. In my heart, Sister Fu is forever an 18-year-old darling." Flower Blossom Wealth took over and wrote, "Hehe, not old at all, just a mortal's appearance of about 80 or 90. Never Spoils the Fun immediately deflated. "Hiss tilde sorry, can't lick that. It's beyond my capabilities. Pick a good name, don't. Don't have any psychological burden. It's all the same with the lights off." Death Diary's message followed right away. 80 or 90, ha 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 ha, wah ha 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 ha, retribution, retribution, you finally get what you deserve. Fang Chen had no time to pay attention to the mass ridicule in the lunar mirror. His face had already turned as black as the bottom of a pot. He cupped his hands and said, "This lunar mirror companion, it's an honor to truly meet face to face." Then he asked, "Where are you headed? Why are you also in the void?" This crone was none other than Iceheart Great Venerable, or more precisely, Iceheart Sage. She was the 5th person to prove the Tao as a sage in the Central Plains recently. After all preparations were complete, she couldn't wait to come and reel Fang Chen in person. Seeing Fang Chen's frustrated look, she was overjoyed beyond measure, inwardly laughing wildly and thinking gleefully, "Bastard, still want that wild belly band? Still hit me on the head with the divine wood, and you saved others first, only stepping in when I was nearly beaten to death. You've got what's coming." HMPH, this isn't over yet. She bared a mouthful of large yellow teeth and said with a grin, "I'm of course here to find you. This old body always responds to requests. Since you asked me to sponsor you in the lunar mirror, I'll fulfill your wish." As she spoke, her body abruptly turned ethereal. Fang Chen's heart leaped violently, and he cried out inwardly, "Holy crap, Flower Blossom Wealth is actually a sage. That's not right. Where in the Central Plains is there such an old female sage? Even if she broke through recently, I've never heard of her." Before he could react, a foul body odor wafted over, and then his right arm tightened as the now corporeal crone tightly latched onto it. The crone, dressed in coarse hemp clothes, half collapsed onto his body. That aged face, full of wrinkles and grime filling each crevice, reeking of stench, puckered its lips and leaned in for a kiss. She called out, "Pick a good name. You're so handsome. This old body really likes you." Fang Chen felt a wave of nausea, and goosebumps erupted all over his body. He tried to break free, but being held at close range by a sage, how could he possibly escape? For once he lost his composure and roared urgently, "Damn dog, why aren't you helping?" The big black dog was more than happy to see Fang Chen kissed to death. Hearing this, he said leisurely, "Master, a date you made yourself. You must see it through even with tears." Fang Chen had no time to deal with the dog. He hastily put his hand beside his face and said rapidly, Senior, let's talk this over. We're civilized people, no need to use your mouth." Iceheart was overjoyed and paid no heed, planting mewa kisses on Fang Chen's palm repeatedly. Fang Chen was disgusted and wished he could chop off that hand. Seeing that old mouth about to kiss him, he hurriedly activated the Dacian divine might within his body. As soon as the champion Marquis banner appeared, boundless pressure swept across the void. Under the pressure, Iceheart was forced to release Fang Chen, stepped back, bowed with clasped hands, and said unwillingly, "Greetings, Champion Marquis." Seizing the opportunity, Fang Chen clamped his legs together, catching the big black dog between them. The void feather garment abruptly lit up, erupting with a peerless speed approaching the Three Calamities realm, and vanished from the spot as if teleporting. Iceheart straightened up, watched Fang Chen's sorry figure fleeing in panic, and could no longer hold back. She clutched her stomach and bent over laughing. "Ha, Fang Chen, oh Fang Chen, didn't expect this, did you? The one to deal with you has arrived." Then she muttered to herself smugly, "But you think this is over. I'll make sure today becomes your nightmare, and you'll remember me, Flower Blossom Wealth, for the rest of your life." With that, she leaped onto the void celestial boat, activated it to its maximum, and chased fiercely after Fang Chen. Ahead, Fang Chen's face was so black, it couldn't get any blacker. He roared in his heart, "This joke has gone way too far. The holder of the 6th lunar mirror fragment is actually an old crone." He deeply felt the heavens' immense malice toward him. Recalling Flower Blossom, Wealth's words and demeanor in the lunar mirror, Fang Chen had vaguely sensed that she held a lofty position and possessed quite a noble air. Never had he imagined it was an old hag. Where exactly did it go wrong? At this moment, after several flickers, the sacred power in the void feather garment was completely exhausted and could no longer sustain teleportation. But he wasn't sure if Flower Blossom Wealth was still pursuing. Suddenly, his eyes lit up as he took out the Moon Palace Lord's token. The old Palace Lord had once said that he used the Palace Lord's token to observe Fang Chen through the lunar mirror fragment. However, it could only be activated during the full moon each month. Fang Chen, having cultivated lunar essence power, had long known that this explanation was just to fob him off. Whether the moon was full or not wasn't important. The key was powerful lunar essence power. It was just that during the full moon, the lunar essence between heaven and earth was more abundant. The old Palace Lord could simply probe the other side of the lunar mirror fragment more easily. Now that Fang Chen had also cultivated lunar essence power, he could attempt to probe the lunar mirror fragment to lock onto Flower Blossom Wealth's current state. And by the way, check on the states of Liu Qingxian, Xia Zheyaj, and King Jiu. Earlier, none of the three had replied to messages in the lunar mirror. He first activated a trace of Zio Ru's sacred bloodline within the heavenly abyss heart, and immediately, powerful sacred power continuously poured into the void feather garment. He teleported again, traveling while simultaneously activating the Palace Lord's token. As massive lunar essence power surged into the blue full moon token, the token gradually became luminous and reflective. Then 7 images emerged. Of the 7, one was obscured by a powerful sacred light, making its contents completely unclear. This was likely Zia Zheyage's. She had returned to the northern celestial realm. It seemed she had lost some freedom, and couldn't easily use the lunar mirror. Another scene brimmed with formidable sword Kai, faintly revealing a woman in a purple long skirt, fiercely competing with someone in swordplay. It must be Liu Qingxian. Seeing her safe and sound, Fang Chen breathed a sigh of relief. Afterward, he saw Gu Zinner and the Red Demon Grandmaster galloping through a dark void. He also noticed Liang Feiyan beaming with excitement as she showed the Moon Realm fragment to Ren Guhang, Wang Chongling, and Chu Yu, all 4 faces beaming with joy. These bastards. Fang Chen cursed inwardly, then sensed that King Jiu was galloping through the void, heading in a direction that should lead to the Sumeru Divine Prison. However, it seemed there was an extra person beside her. Finally, there was that damned old crone, Blossoming Prosperity. Fang Chen's mouth twitched uncontrollably as he saw Blossoming Prosperity steer that strange bronze boat, charging after him with fierce momentum. Is she hell, bent on kissing me no matter what? Fang Chen's entire face instantly darkened. Just as he was about to put away the token and focus on escaping, suddenly, an anomaly appeared in the image of Blossoming Prosperity. A blaze of icy light suddenly flared at Blossoming Prosperity's chest, and an ice crystal pendant hanging there became visible. Immediately after, the icy light swept across her entire body. Her coarse linen clothes, disheveled long hair, and dirty, wrinkled old face shattered and flaked off like pieces of ice, revealing a figure with a coquettish smile, fair skin, beautiful features, and brimming with youthful vigor. Bingxin. Fang Chen abruptly halted, his eyes bulging. In the image, Bingxin also realized that her ice crystal pendant had lost its effect and hurriedly infused the law of ice back into it. The pendant was reactivated, releasing icy light again and disguising her as the old crone. He, dead. Beat Fang Chen. Here comes the old hag. Watching all of this through the Palace Lord token, Fang Chen couldn't stop his body from trembling. His 5 fingers suddenly clenched the token tightly, making it creak loudly. Since the time in Lone Boat City, he had never been so embarrassed. Even when facing the most powerful enemies, he could always find some way to deal with them. Never would he have expected to be tripped up by the naive little girl, Bingxin. He wiped his face heavily and muttered viciously, all day hunting geese, only to be pecked in the eye by one. Bingxin, oh Bingxin, of all the people you could mess with, why did you have to mess with me? Blossoming Prosperity, right. Old crone, right. I'll grant your wish. Thinking about how he had been teased by Bingxin and fled in a panic just now, his eyes practically spat fire. He glanced back in the direction Bingxin was, then immediately suppressed the saintly power within him, feigning that his saint power was depleted and he could no longer flee, putting on an act of slowly gliding along. Not long after, a thunderous roar came from behind, and Bingxin steered the bronze boat to block his path. Leaning on her crutch, she smiled and said, Run, why aren't you running? Can't run anymore. Need my help. At this moment, Bingxin was extremely smug. Fang Chen could neither outplay her nor outrun her now. With a black face, Fang Chen said, Blossoming Prosperity, what exactly do you want before you'll let me go? Bingxin bared her big yellow teeth and said, What are you talking about? Wasn't it you in the Moon Realm who said you wanted to just lie down? Come on, obediently let this old woman give you a kiss. Everything of this old woman's will be yours in the future. After speaking, she once again turned into an illusory figure. Fang Chen's expression changed. Clutching the big black dog, he tried to flee, but his neck was hooked by an arm. Bingxin's filthy, wrinkled old face instantly drew close enough to be within an inch. Her mouth exhaled a foul, stinking breath as she chuckled. Aya, just close your eyes and it'll be fine. What are you afraid of? Even as the words were still in her mouth, that old mouth directly leaned in for a kiss. She had originally thought Fang Chen would dodge again, and even use his hand to block her mouth. However, what made Bingxin instantly freeze was that Fang Chen did not dodge or block. Instead, he lowered his head and met her kiss head on. The soft and scorching sensation made Bingxin completely stunned, her brain going momentarily blank. Wait. Fang Chen, Fang Chen, how come he isn't playing by the script? Scared, she hastily retracted her mouth, but unexpectedly, Fang Chen pursued her, catching her lips in his and kissing her deeply. MMMPH. Bingson pushed him away in a fluster, staggering backward repeatedly. She covered her slightly swollen mouth and said in a panic, what are you doing? Her first kiss just gone like that. And Fang Chen had even viciously bitten her lip. If she hadn't broken through to the sage realm and had a powerful physique, her lip probably would have been bitten through. Fang Chen wiped his mouth, smiling as he walked toward her, and said, I've figured it out. I don't want to work hard anymore. Sister Fugui, from today on, I'll submit to you. 3 meals a day, large portions guaranteed to satisfy. How about that? Bingxin was dumbfounded. No, this wasn't how the script was supposed to go. Watching Fang Chen step closer and closer, Bingxin shrank back a bit scared. You don't mind that I'm old. I'm 80 or 90 years old. Fang Chen stepped forward, lifting her chin, and said, I won't allow you to say you're old. In my heart, you will always be my 18-year-old little darling. Yes. This time it was Bingxin's turn to break out in goosebumps all over. Rubbing her arms and feeling her teeth ache, she said, Fang Chen, are you really not picky at all? Fang Chen grabbed her waist and pulled her into his embrace, saying, I fell in love with you at first sight. I can't wait to be kept by you. Come on, don't waste time. A moment of spring night is worth 1,000 pieces of gold. As he spoke, he tore off the silk ribbon at her waist, and his hand boldly ventured into her bosom. Just as he touched that soft, pure whiteness, Bingxin sprang away as if electrocuted, her old face blushing red, her heart pounding wildly. You shameless lecher. Fang Chen was amused. You damn girl, now you're scared. He laughed and said, Sister Fugui, you traveled thousands of miles to find me, kissing and hugging me, and now that I'm willing, how come you're the one backing out? Bingxin bit her red lip lightly, unable to understand how things had turned out this way. Not only had she failed to annoy Fang Chen, but she had lost her first kiss, and even been touched. Touched her pureness. She glared at Fang Chen angrily. You just wait, I won't let you get away with this. She turned and jumped onto the bronze boat, urging it to flee. Fang Chen gave a soft snort. Did she think she could flirt with him whenever she wanted and leave whenever she pleased? It's not that easy. With a wave of his hand, the void fishing rod appeared in his palm, and the hook instantly teleported, hooking the bronze boat. Bingxin was taken aback. How could she not recognize that void fishing rod that had once fished away her belly band? Her face immediately changed, and she pressed down hard on the bronze boat. The power of a sage ultimately couldn't be resisted by a top-grade spiritual device, so the hook failed to drag the boat over. Seizing this chance, Bingxin tore off the fish hook and steered the bronze boat into a streak of azure light, darting away. Not far after she fled, she turned around and said with a giggle, hee, trying to snatch my bronze boat. I'm not the Bingxin of the past anymore, neener. She made a funny face, then dove deep into the void, thinking to herself, the reason I failed is because Fang Chen's appetite is too good. He could even stomach that. I'll change my identity and start over. Why not disguise myself as Gu Zinner? I refused to believe he could still bring himself to do it. But just as she was planning where to change her identity, a flash of golden light suddenly came from her chest. It was the void fishing hook coming again. Bingxin subconsciously thought the hook was going to catch the bronze boat, so she quickly crouched down to hold the boat steady. Unexpectedly, the hook made a feint and swept past her chest instead. The disguise on Bingxin's body instantly shattered into icy light fragments and fell away. She looked down and realized that the ice crystal pendant at her chest was already gone. Ah, you damned Fang Chen, you fished away my disguised treasure, Bingxin cried out in alarm. She turned her head, wanting to chase after him, but on second thought, wouldn't that reveal her true face? No, I absolutely can't let that guy know that I am blossoming prosperity. Otherwise, he'll laugh himself to death at me for a year. But after all that, her first kiss had been stolen, her pureness touched, and her treasure snatched. The more she thought, the more she felt she'd been wronged, and she stomped her little feet angrily. I'm not done with you. But without the ice crystal pendant, how can I tease him again? That's right, the ice crystal pendant originally came from the ice realm. Why don't I just go back to the ice realm and get another one? Heh, damn Fang Chen, let you gloat for now. I'll repay you with interest sooner or later, remember, with interest. With that, she spun her bronze boat around and sped off toward the ice realm. Fang Chen watched Binkson's furious departing figure through the token, a smile slowly curving his lips. "You little wretch dare to fight me?" A swift whistling sound sliced through the air as the ice crystal pendant was reeled back by the fishhook. He snatched it and examined it carefully, exclaiming in surprise, "A quasi-world artifact? Wait, where did that little vixen get this? Isn't she just an ordinary great sovereign?" "Hold on." Fang Chen suddenly recalled that Binkson might not be an ordinary person after all. He still remembered that during the final decisive battle, the compassionate sage always treated other great sovereigns with aloof superiority, but her attitude toward Binkson was surprisingly mild. There was even a trace of wariness in it, faint but unmistakable. And then there was the Asura Saint Sun, who also seemed oddly fixated on Binkson. Moreover, with her battle merits from 2 great wars, Binkson shouldn't have qualified to become a sage, yet she had mysteriously attained sainthood. Fang Chen stroked his chin, a glint of suspicion flashing in his eyes as he muttered under his breath, "That damn girl. She might actually have a background." He chuckled darkly, then narrowed his eyes and added to himself, "Heh, I look forward to her next visit. I'll loot her gear again." With that, he stowed the invisibility, granting ice crystal pendant, and rechecked his bearings. Tucking the big black dog under his arm, Fang Chen activated his void feather mantle, his figure transforming into a streak of light that flashed away. However, just as his form flickered, capable of teleporting thousands of feet away, a muffled boom erupted his entire body, crashed into an invisible barrier, and was violently hurled back from 1,000 yards out. Fang Chen's expression changed abruptly. He immediately looked down at the big black dog beneath him and asked in a deep voice, "What's going on?" The big black dog hastily sniffed the air, its dog eyes instantly alert, baring its teeth as it snarled, "Fragrance, a woman's fragrance. Someone else nearby." Fang Chen's heart chilled. Without hesitation, he spun around, activating the void feather mantle once more to teleport away. But the moment his figure flickered, he was again thrown back from 1,000 yards away by a formless colossal force. Fang Chen's temper flared. He burst madly in several directions, attempting to break through. Yet every attempt ended the same. The heavens above, the earth below, every direction he was completely sealed by something intangible, unable to move an inch. Fang Chen steadied himself, swept his cold gaze around, and demanded in a low, sharp voice, "Who is it?" His words had barely faded when, without any warning, his shoulder suddenly sagged slightly. A hand as white as jade silently, imperceptibly, rested upon his shoulder. Fang Chen's pupils constricted violently. Who could appear directly behind him without the big black dog even noticing? With almost no time to think, Fang Chen instinctively summoned his evil sword and stabbed backward. A crisp, extremely light ding rang out. The evil sword struck something as indestructible as metal, producing a cold yet exceptionally clear impact sound. Then a voice as beautiful and melodious as silver bells drifted into his ear, tinged with amusement. "Quick reflexes, aren't you?" Fang Chen felt his soul nearly leave his body in terror. He whipped his head around. There, a middle-aged beauty with a fallen horse hairstyle, a face like a silver plate, and exquisitely handsome features, stood eerily still behind him as if appearing out of thin air. One hand rested casually on Fang Chen's shoulder, the other extended 2 fingers, lightly and steadily clamping the evil sword. The evil sword, which could be deemed a quasi-world artifact, emitted a strained humming and trembling sound between her 2 fingers. Fang Chen's expression changed dramatically. He immediately willed the evil sword's domineering trait, grow, lengthen. Yet, clamped between her 2 fingers, the evil sword remained utterly still, refusing to grow at all. In desperation, Fang Chen barked, "You dead dog, bite her." The big black dog beneath him, also startled by the sudden appearance of this middle-aged beauty, immediately opened its jaws, bared its sharp fangs, and bit fiercely at her thigh. But the vicious bite, imbued with the might of the 2 calamities realm, landed as if on a slab of 10,000-year-old iron. Nearly all its dog teeth were almost sent flying. Oh, my teeth." The yellow-robed beauty slightly lowered her head to look at the big black dog, her half-smirk vanishing instantly, replaced by a deep, undisguised disgust. "Scram, you filth-eating dead dog." Without any visible movement, merely parting her thin lips, a supreme law descended with a roar. The big black dog was struck as if by invisible lightning. A sharp shang burst out as its entire body was blasted backward, slamming viciously into the invisible barrier behind. The barrier rippled violently, like a curtain torn aside, finally revealing its true form. It was a vast formation of ancient longswords spanning the sky, arrayed in a colossal sword array. Above his head and beneath his feet, giant swords pressed down. They were trapped within a massive, murderous sword array. Fang Chen looked closely, his heart jolting with shock. These swords were all top-grade spiritual swords. There were over 90 of them. To think Kiki had scoured every corner of the stars to collect top-grade spiritual swords and could only gather 2 or 3. Yet this woman, by herself, wielded over 90 top-grade spiritual swords. What background does she have? Fang Chen gritted his teeth, trying to break free from the woman's hand, only to discover with horror that his internal power was completely suppressed, immobile, as if he had become a mere mortal. His heart was secretly shaken. She could blast away the big black dog of the 2 calamities realm with a single word and easily suppress all his cultivation. Needless to say, she was a terrifying existence. 3 calamities realm, and a 3 calamities expert who mastered the supreme sword Dao. Fang Chen forcefully suppressed the stormy waves in his heart and said in a deep voice, "Senior, please let go, or I'll call for help." The yellow-robed beauty finally shifted her gaze back to Fang Chen, her face once again brimming with that playful smile. "Call all you want, even if you shout your throat raw, no one will come." After a pause, she added leisurely, "I followed you for 3 days, making sure you were far from the Central Plains before making my move. In this remote place now, no one can help you." Fang Chen's heart sank secretly. This woman had come specifically for him, fully prepared. He rapidly calculated whether to release Linglong, playing a dangerous game of directing the wolf against the tiger. But on second thought, he immediately killed that idea. Given Linglong's bone, deep hatred for him now, the situation would not be a case of wolf against tiger, but rather a wolf in front and a tiger behind. The 2 of them would likely join forces and ruthlessly team him. Fang Chen's eyes darted. He quickly cupped his hands and said, "May I ask what Senior has sought this junior for? If there is anything this junior can do to assist, I will not refuse. I only ask that Senior first release me." Hearing this, the yellow-robed beauty pursed her lips into a smile. "Release you? You have far too many tricks. Even if I personally make a move, you might slip away if I'm not careful." With that, she casually and deftly took the evil sword from Fang Chen's hand. She toyed with it in her palm, a hint of approval gleaming in her eyes as she appraised it. "A good sword that can grow. Pity its potential has reached its limit. If you agree to join my weapon vault, I might have a way to renurture this sword, giving it true potential to break through to a world artifact." Weapon vault. Fang Chen's heart jolted. He immediately looked up at the woman. This woman actually came from Liu Qingxian's weapon vault, and from her words, it seemed she harbored no great malice toward him. He relaxed slightly, the gears in his mind turning again, and cupped his hands. "The weapon vault is one of the 4 great worlds. If I could join the weapon vault, it would be the greatest honor. However, this junior currently has a matter of extreme urgency that requires me to go to a certain place. Once finished, I will immediately accompany Senior to the weapon vault without any hesitation." He thought to himself that if the great libationer and the blood marquis of chaotic antiquity were still locked in a fierce stalemate, he could take advantage of this woman. Unexpectedly, the yellow-robed beauty chuckled softly and casually stuffed the evil sword back into Fang Chen's hand, speaking lazily. "Heh, your eyes tell me you want to use me." "Damn." Fang Chen's heart turned sharply cold. These old monsters in the 3 calamities realm were truly not easy to scheme against. His petty tricks were as clear to her as day. "Stow away your little schemes and walk obediently," the yellow-robed beauty said, keeping her palm firmly on Fang Chen's shoulder with an incontestable tone. "First, come with me to Southern Cayenne to finish the matter. After that, I will naturally take you back to the arsenal. If you behave, it's not impossible that I might personally take you as a disciple." Hearing this, Fang Chen grew even more anxious. The great libationer's life or death was unknown at this moment. How could he afford to waste time elsewhere? Yet this old woman, in the 3 calamities realm before him, clearly wouldn't let him go easily. He was completely in her hands, without the slightest room to resist. What on earth should he do? Just then, the yellow-robed beauty suddenly wrinkled her nose, and the hand on Fang Chen's shoulder reflexively jerked away as if scalded by fire. She took a few steps back, eyeing Fang Chen with undisguised disgust. "What's that smell on you?" Fang Chen froze on the spot. What smell could he possibly have? Bewildered, he raised an arm and sniffed carefully, finally catching an extremely faint, lingering stench, a remnant from when Bingzin had disguised herself as an old crone. Bing Xin had held his arm earlier, so some trace of the odor remained. But it wasn't that strong a smell, was it? Unless someone came very close and sniffed deliberately, it was practically undetectable. The yellow-robed beauty's reaction was far too exaggerated. Now I remember, was it that old hag? The image of the yellow-toothed, unwashed old woman flashed through the yellow-robed beauty's mind, and a strong wave of nausea and revulsion surged up. With a lift of her hand, she unleashed a terrifying sword aura that instantly transformed into a brilliant rain of sword light, violently scouring Fang Chen's entire body. Not only did it completely strip away the residual stink, it also washed Fang Chen's skin spotless. So much so that his whole body was forcibly scrubbed a full shade lighter. Fang Chen was speechless. Did this old woman have a cleanliness obsession? Recalling her extreme disgust toward the big black dog earlier, he felt even more certain of his suspicion. Mysophobia, mysophobia. Suddenly, a sharp glint flickered deep in Fang Chen's eyes. He had it. He had finally thought of a brilliant way to shake off this old woman. The yellow-robed beauty looked the thoroughly refreshed Fang Chen up and down, and a satisfied expression at last returned to her face. She nodded slightly, clean now. Come with me. She stepped forward again, one hand firmly on Fang Chen's shoulder, while the other made a casual beckoning gesture in the air. In an instant, a series of clanking metallic clangs resounded continuously. The colossal sword array that had filled the sky transformed into streams of brilliant, shimmering sword light and flew back into the sword sheaths behind her. Only then did Fang Chen clearly see that what she carried on her back was not a single sword, but a spatial sword casket containing a universe within. Fang Chen's eyes shifted slightly. He tentatively said, "Senior, you needn't keep restraining me like this. I'll take off the void feather garment and temporarily hand it to you for safekeeping. How about that?" The yellow-robed beauty considered for a moment, then nodded her assent. The void feather garment was the key to Fang Chen's ability to teleport. Without this precious garment, Fang Chen would find it very hard to escape her grasp. Soon, the void feather garment, still warm with body heat, was placed into the yellow-robed beauty's hand. A trace of surprise flashed in her eyes, and her tone took on a scrutinizing edge. "You have some ability." The void feather garment of the angelic tribe is a supreme treasure of the angelic nobles, and almost never circulates outside. Yet you managed to obtain one. Fang Chen replied with a smile, "Just happened to come across it by fortuitous chance. Can Senior rest assured about me now?" As he spoke, his consciousness secretly probed into the heavenly thunderstone, scanning the three ungiven void feather garments. His heart settled a little. The yellow-robed beauty then released her hand. Underfoot, a radiant sheet of sword light instantly coalesced. She sat cross-legged upon it and commanded in a detached tone, "Sit down." Fang Chen nodded, but his gaze involuntarily drifted toward the big black dog in the distance. Hesitantly, he asked, "What about my pet?" The yellow-robed beauty frowned, her voice abruptly cold. "Put it away first, lock it up well, and don't let it out again. The sight of that thing makes me sick." Fang Chen said no more. He immediately took out the spatial mirror and put the injured big black dog inside. Then he obediently sat cross-legged behind the yellow-robed beauty, but his eyes never stopped darting, his mind rapidly brewing various escape plans. The yellow-robed beauty urged the sword shadow, shooting off in the exact opposite direction, and inwardly shook her head with mild disappointment. She had expected this champion marquis to employ a series of methods against her, even just to make her pursuit feel somewhat strenuous. Yet none of what she had envisioned ever happened. It fell far short of the famed reputation of the champion marquis who had been heralded across the heavens. She mused to herself, "Forget it, let's just bring him back first. Even if he's no earth-shattering genius, he'll still make a decent novelty." A feeling of faint disinterest crossed her mind. Without turning her head, she said, "The journey to southern Cayenne will still take some time. Continue tempering your physique." Having secretly tracked him the whole way, she had long seen Fang Chen's cultivation method. It indeed had some remarkable qualities. But at this moment, Fang Chen's mind was entirely occupied with plotting his escape. He had no mind for cultivation, and casually deflected, "That perfect body, tempering method of mine takes quite a lot of time. I'll practice it when I have a chance to go into seclusion." The yellow-robed beauty glanced back at Fang Chen, pondering briefly. A clear metallic ring, Qiang, suddenly sounded from the sword casket behind her. A supreme great spirit sword, gleaming silver, white and circled by the phantom of a long, flowing river, instantly shot out. The moment the sword appeared, Fang Chen keenly sensed that the surrounding winds had become incredibly slow, and the meteorite dust that should have been zooming past was as sluggish as if trapped in a mire. Time law. Fang Chen's heart jolted, and he blurted out in shock. The yellow-robed beauty calmly explained, "This is the sword of time, forged from the spine of a great sage of time. It inherently contains the time law. Until we arrive in southern Cayenne, I'm lending it to you." Fang Chen took the sword of time in both hands, secretly astonished. As expected of a Three Calamities realm expert, among the 90+ swords she carried, any one casually taken out was so extraordinary. He immediately noticed that the time flow around him was a full 3 times faster than outside. Although it couldn't compare to the space-time hourglass's heaven-defying effect of tenfold acceleration, this was a divine sword that continuously emanated time law, far surpassing any disposable item in value. With this sword in hand, his body, tempering speed, would certainly be greatly enhanced from now on. As for returning it to the yellow-robed beauty, a wild divine sword that fell into his hands, there was no way he'd give it back. He solemnly placed the sword of time across his knees, thoughts racing wildly. Having had that harrowing experience dealing with the heaven-burying sacred beast, he understood all too well the terror of the Three Calamities realm. A single glance from her could annihilate his Tao body completely. So he had only one chance, and he had to occupy the yellow-robed beauty so completely that she had no time to spare for his existence. A single misstep would waste all his effort. If he failed, he would inevitably be thoroughly restrained, and then there would be no hope of rescuing the great libationer. His mind churned rapidly, repeatedly rehearsing every detail to ensure the plan was foolproof. After a full half-incense stick's worth of thought, Fang Chen took a long, deep breath as if to settle himself, then slowly said, "Senior, I'm about to start cultivating. If I cause any disturbance, please be understanding." The yellow-robed beauty nodded slightly with her eyes closed, but immediately she clearly sensed that what Fang Chen had opened was unmistakably a life-space pocket. Wait, why the life-space pocket? A profound sense of danger caused her to abruptly open her exquisite eyes, a terrifying gaze carrying the power to annihilate heaven and earth as she whipped her head around to look behind. Yet, a ferocious aura that drained the color from her face surged toward her like a raging tide. Within that aura lay an extreme thirst for blood and brutality, as if emanating from a primordial era, faintly mingled with a mysterious, heart-stopping pressure. Even more terrifying, the source of that aura radiated the dreadful fluctuations of the Three Calamities realm. Not only was the intimidating gaze she had just cast shattered, but even the condensed sword shadow beneath her feet was instantly blasted apart the moment that fiendish beast appeared. When she saw it clearly, it was a colossal beast with the head of a true dragon, its entire body covered in layers of black scales, exuding a heaven-surging baleful aura. Heaven-burying sacred beast. The beautiful woman in yellow robes was greatly alarmed, her heart suddenly racing. Instinctively, she moved to draw her sword, but immediately sensed something amiss. The heaven-burying sacred beast before her had a fluctuating aura, clearly suffering from severe injuries. Furthermore, after appearing, it stood there proudly with its neck raised, showing no intention of attacking anyone. After all, the yellow-robed beauty was a powerhouse of the Three Calamities realm. Instantly calming herself, she shot a razor-sharp gaze at Fang Chen atop the sacred beast's back and coldly shouted, "You brat! You intend to use the heaven-burying sacred beast against me. Unfortunately, your official rank is too low to command it." Fang Chen smiled faintly, calmly took out a black bell, and looked directly at her as he said, "Who said I was going to use it against you?" His voice suddenly rose with a reckless resolve. "Prepare to receive the great gift I'm sending you."